This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey everybody, it is Nick, it is Eric. You guys know the drill. We're picking the hooptiest. We're picking the car we want to be the Lemons build. Eric's going to choose. I've got the Lemons build here, the hooptiest here. Eric, close your eyes. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Oh, I hit myself in the face. You are doing the Lemons build. I am doing the hooptiest. Let's go.
Do the thing.
Do the thing with the thing. Oh no, they're going straight to our weakness, which is 50s American cars. What the heck?
That looks like the end of the Hudson line.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I cheated and looked at the caption, and it's hashtag Hudson. This is from Southern Back Roads Cars.
Southern Ohio, I assume.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah. Southern Ohio Backroads Cars. There we go.
There we go.
I'm not good at reading things when there's not.
We'll suss that out eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a Hudson, and it's a small Hudson, relatively speaking. This would be like the compact model, I would imagine.
I think this is, at this point, Hudson was just about bankrupt. This is like a late 50s, 58 maybe, something like that. And they probably weren't making but this model, with the different trim levels. I don't know. I couldn't tell you from a boat what kind of trim level this is, but they'd switched from the big inline flathead 6s to V8s somewhere in the mid 50s. And I don't know, I guess that lost them everything. Who knows? Maybe Hudson was circling the drain at that point. I'm not super down with the history of Hudson.
I certainly am not. Although since you mentioned trim, let's talk about the pieces of flair that this car contains. Yeah. Like, do you want a hood ornament? Yes. Do you want another hood ornament? Yes. Do you want a V8 thing? Yes. 5, please. Do you want chrome thingies on your chrome bumper? Yes. Do you want a side trim that's sort of part of the other side trim? Yes. Do you want a separate side trim that's behind that side trim? Yes. Do you want fins? Yes. 2 sets, please. And also a third set in the back. So I wouldn't call this the simplest design I've ever seen.
No. Well, I mean, it is if you take all of the accoutrement off of it. It is like a Hudson in that it's a big pontoon in the front and that kind of tapers down. But then they just slapped literally everything on it.
Yeah, I think it was like, I mean, this is like when you're playing a video game and, do I want a wing? Sure, why not? Do I want ground effects? Sure, why not? And you just start adding stuff. I think that's basically what they must have been doing when they designed this car.
It's like they have a 1999 Civic now, and they went to AutoZone and scooped up everything and threw it back on the car.
Yeah. Exactly.
Also known as Buick design.
Right. AKA aspirational Buick styling. Yeah. All right. Next
Good start. So I got the Duke Arrives posted this one. It is this crappy Impala that's falling apart. Yeah. And Darren is his name, texted me this and was telling me the whole story. Yeah, he was at somewhere, a parts store or something, saw the thing parked outside, was taking pictures, and the gentleman walked outside and spun the tail of the car, and he had been driving it exactly like this for like 20 years in Buffalo. So spectacular.
I feel like the part that I really want to see is the back, where the whole trunk area is bent down at like a 30-degree angle.
Yeah, I believe this is a multiple photo post, but I thought the owner with the car.
Yeah, well, it does.
Full, but if you want to find them all, go to the Duke Arrives. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Well, as somebody pointed out in the comments, this guy looks exactly like the kind of guy who would drive this. And
Yes.
I would agree.
Yep. Completely agree. And, you know, Chicago has the famous Cutlass that looks vaguely similar to this. And, you know, the old saying that I think we actually coined, GM cars run poor for longer than most cars run at all. So
Yeah, correct. Well, there you go. Nice spot by the Duke Arrives. Next up, oh man, $500 my ass.
yeah.
You have a modern neoclassic Grand Tourer in the Jag XJ8, which is about the same as my Mazda, with the primary difference of this car is not being driven or doesn't run at all.
Right.
And then you've got some kind of big old Lincoln next to it.
Yeah, I mean, that is it's got to be a town car or an early Mark, whatever it is. What it really is your Lemons car and the thing to pull the trailer with.
Right, exactly. Man, yeah, if you arrive with that combo, you're the king of the paddock for sure.
Completely, yeah. I imagine that whatever Ford product has a big block 460 in it.
Yeah.
That'll probably tow the car and the house behind the car.
I would imagine. Now these Jags, this is the same V8 that we've never seen. Have we ever seen an XK8 in Lemons? We of course had the Aston Martin, which is like sort of related, the DB7. But boy, I mean, that would be, you could certainly get one for Lemon's money, or close to it, and we wouldn't sweat you if you went a little bit over. But we found that the modern Thunderbird that's been racing in Lemons, which has a version of this same Jag V8, has been weirdly bulletproof over its first 4 races or whatever it's been. So maybe it's a secret to actual Lemons longevity is a Jaguar V8 of this era. I suggest you try it out.
I think so. I would hands down put that in Class C with 1 million horsepower theoretically under the hood. Man, that thing is tailor made for Lemons. Car.
Indeed.
Why bring a BMW when you can bring an XK?
Exactly. Okay, so you know how people on the internet say that the second gen MR2 looks just like a Ferrari?
Yeah. Wait, is that an MR2?
That's what I thought it was.
I don't know. It might be a 355 Challenge.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You know, I didn't think it was a regular 355, but since you mentioned that it was the Challenge with the blacked out rear tail panel, I think you might actually be right. So
there's a lot happening, aside from the faux Rari-ness that's happening. The high mount brake light that's sitting on there looks like it doesn't have a brake light in it, and it's just an AutoZone hood scoop. There's T-top.
Right.
Boy, the cutout in front of the rear wheel for the brake ducting. I think my favorite part might be the moss that has grown black around the fuel filter.
That's a nice. I like the little lip spoiler on the trunk lid that is slowly working its way off. It's like sliding off the end of the trunk.
It is melted away. It took. I thought that what that looked like to me was fuel filler neck, like you use. So I didn't even recognize that as being part of the car.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, part of the point of making a Ferrari lookalike out of an MR2 is the fact that, hey, it's an MR2 underneath and it'll just keep working. Well, maybe that's not an absolute statement.
I don't think so. That one has been sitting for a minute.
Yep. Hence the moss and the various other issues. All right. Moving on. The Pontiac Mercedes. I don't know a whole lot about these other than, they're kind of upright and dorky looking, not dissimilar from my family's Rover P4, which has not run in my lifetime. Sort of an upright, narrow sedan. I think they're swing axles, maybe. One of these old Mercedes has swing axles, which makes it, extra exciting in in a racing application, for example.
Yeah. Don't know if there's much to add there. This one's probably a diesel if it's still surviving.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much about what the engine options would have been in one of these. This is, of course, from Brooklyn Car Spotting, so extra points for being street parked in Brooklyn. And it looks pretty straight.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
It's clean.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah. Very nice.
Perhaps has been restored.
Yeah, maybe. I do like the big old fender turn signal. That's one of the features I like on this thing. All right, moving on. It's a Comet from the Maverick era of the Comet.
Yeah, that's
as opposed to the Falcon era of the Comet.
Street parked again in Brooklyn. From a different poster. This is from Dark Star F56. That's pretty cool that we've got two posters from Brooklyn, and then there are this many old cars street parked in Brooklyn. Yeah, boy, we haven't had a Maverick, and the Comet is obviously the twist on that,
right?
That we all need.
Yeah,
I guess I've never probably seen one of these in my lifetime. I saw a restored-ish one on a trailer once.
Right.
But I didn't get a look at the nose, and I didn't realize it had the big, ugly, prow Mercury nose on it.
That's the main distinguishing factor. I would imagine maybe the taillights are different, too, between the Maverick and the Comet. Yeah. But, yeah, it's... I don't know. That thing kind of works. The big old schnoz on it. I don't hate it.
It looks better on a small car where it's a little less overstated, I guess.
Well, and this car is helped by being a relatively early one with the smaller bumpers. I bet you if they continued that design into the big bumper era, I bet you it's looking pretty horrible.
Big hanking bumper on it.
Yeah.
This car obviously... Go ahead.
This car has a definite feel of 70s, 80s cop show with the the steel wheels. I mean, this is like either the bad guy or the loose cannon detective is driving this thing around.
Yeah, this is it's not quite Peter Falk, but the scraping by private detective maybe is in the Comet with the Landau roof peeling off.
Right.
Can't tell if it's brown or green. It's kind of that 1970s both color.
Yeah. Well, on my monitor, it looks mostly gray, but I think all of the above is the correct answer to that question. So, well, that's pretty cool. All right, moving on. What is it?
Yeah, it's a Kia. I know that.
It's a Sportage?
I think it's a Sportage. And I didn't know
Sportage.
I didn't know if this was factory or not. It looks like that this was a real thing.
Yeah, it does. Well, so this was that weird era of SUVs where car companies thought maybe there was appeal for the sort of two-door Jeep with the open top. So there was a two-door RAV4. Obviously, Suzuki X90, Amigo.
Amigo is what I was thinking.
Yeah, all of those weird things. And then, that genre pretty quickly died out when Honda made the CR-V and sold 6 trillion of them. And they realized, people don't want a Jeep. They want a station wagon. But I guess, if this is a two-door Sportage with the removable top and the back, I'm not sure I was aware of that variation. I thought it was an Isuzu at first, which
I've certainly never seen. Yeah, that's a good call. But the grill looks like the Kia Sportage grill.
If somebody out there is an expert on the the samurai genre, that's not even the samurai genre. It's the 90s. It's like the X90 genre, where it's like, when they brought the samurai concept into the 90s. Boy. So, anywho, that's pretty cool.
I think my favorite part of this would be that if it is a Kia, it was like 10 years after this was a thing.
Yeah, so right. Totally. Yeah,
probably explains why you've never seen one.
Yeah. It means that it's like a 2004 or something. Right. So yeah. Well, thanks to Nate, or I'm assuming Nate Fernandez, because I know a Nate Fernandez, but it's N Fernandez 18379. Thanks for that. All right. Okay. Back to Southern Ohio Backroads cars. Now that I figured out the screen name. Acura TL, I went on the press launch for this very car, the whatever year, it's like 2004. It was the first magazine press launch I went on, and it was in Seattle, and we went to the the Rock and Roll Experience Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Because the tie-in, tenuous as it may have been, was that this car had a special DVD audio system, which was a short-lived format that was like, way more information than a standard CD, and you could put 1 million tracks on it. And the TL had a sound system of 38 speakers or whatever it was that took advantage of the extra information on the DVD audio. And one of the giveaways for the press launch was DVD audio of classic albums. So I have Beach Boys' Pet Sounds on DVD audio, which only will play on a DVD player. Right. So I'm sure that's worth a lot of money. It might, in fact, be worth more than this particular Acura TL.
Yeah, this one has a sign on the door, and if I believe it says "The Ultimate Sad Ass" or "Stardust" or "Sundress." I'm not sure, but
boy, yeah. Well, it is in pretty sad ass condition. These are pretty nice cars. They've got the Honda J Series V6. You could get them in a 6-speed. I remember that was one of the things from the press launch. All the press cars were 6 speeds, and then they sold 0 of them, I'm sure. Right. That was one of the first cars that I drove, front-wheel drive car that had a lot of power, and I was not super aware of torque steer until driving this car. This car and my buddy's V6 Ultima from around the same era. It was like, oh, so that's what torque steer is.
It's basically the same car.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, one was made by Nissan, so objectively worse, but yeah, conceptually very similar. All right. Oh, it's a Vigor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird Acura. Yeah.
That's a weird Acura. So the deal with the Vigor was that it had a longitudinal motor with a transaxle, like an Audi. And in fact, I think there was a 5-cylinder option.
Yeah. These are mostly 5 cylinders, and I think there was a V6 later.
Yeah. So this, I guess, was slotted between the Legend and the Integra. So it would have been like, the mid-size car. And I mean, I wonder to what extent they thought, Audi is doing great things and we should just copy them, and that's why the layout wound up that way, because there aren't that many cars that do that. I mean, Audi does it to pretty much everything, right. But you don't see it very many other places. I mean, this car, I don't think they sold very many, but you'd have to imagine that it works better than an Audi of the same era. Like, this compared to a 95 Audi or whatever year this thing is. I have to imagine the Honda just functions better as a car, but they didn't sell any, so you don't see them.
Yeah, I agreed wholeheartedly. I think it's it's not an Accord. It looks like it's based on an Accord, but it's based on the Honda Vigor, which was its own thing.
I think it's its own deal. One thing I remember, some friends of mine, they were racing an Accord. I don't know my Accord generations, but 80s Accord, and they were looking for cheap performance upgrades for their Lemons car, and one of the things was like sway bars or something off of a Vigor.
Good luck with that.
And it was the classic thing where like my friends like had to go onto like third gen Accord sport.com and like the forums, and like every car has a weird community, and there's some guy who's on there every day posting on that forum. Yep. That's like his whole online social life. And so they ventured into there, and everybody, all they had to say was, you got to go find yourself some Vigor parts, which of course they then couldn't do because there aren't any Vigors. So
I saw one in a junkyard once and didn't appreciate how weird and rare it was. Like I opened the hood and I was like, that's 1, 2, what?
Yeah. Well, that engine would be really cool to use in something else. Like, being a 5-cylinder and being longitudinal, you could put it in like a small rear-wheel drive old car, like, imagine a BMW 2002 with a 5-cylinder Vigor motor would be super cool. It's 5-cylinder sound weird, and they're just kind of interesting. So
you know what somebody should do if you're watching this is you find somebody's Dorifdo S2000 that's been wrecked. And you put the Vigor 5-cylinder in it. Voila.
Definitely. Or the Lemons Miata, Vigor swapped Lemons
Vigor
Miata.
swap. Vigor swap. Vigor swap the world.
Yeah. Well, and just to get started, so we don't bite off more than we can chew, bring a Vigor to
also that.
Yeah. And then, once you fall in love with the whole Vigor ethos, then you can Vigor swap
that's right. Vigor life.
Yeah, Vigor life for life. All right. Final car of the week. What the? Wow. So I can't see the front, but it sure looks like somebody added the back half of a van without taking into consideration that would add more weight to the back of their van.
Yeah, it looks like, I bet steering is really interesting on this thing.
Man. Yeah, don't be standing next to it, because I bet you the ass end like swings in this arc that just like takes out parking meters and pedestrians and sidewalk cafes as they're driving by.
Yeah, boy. We probably should insist that people learn how to tow things someday, and there's some good resources out there, but this is a single vehicle that requires some consideration of load weighting and, in order to not die, when weight shifts to the back, because it slants at a 15-degree angle towards the tailgate.
Totally. Like, if you're bringing your spare engine block to the Lemons race, don't put it in the back. Like, load that baby into the side door for safety. Speaking of the side door, it looks like this thing has some kind of like a propane setup, like an RV underneath the door there.
Yeah.
This guy could be living van life,
You know what? Yeah, that must be what this is. It is a millennial living their best life.
Yeah. It's somebody that's got lots of Instagram followers. They've got designer clothes and coffee. This thing has like a very nice light wood interior, and a foxy lady that just travels the world with him. That's probably what's happening here.
Yeah. It is. It also vaguely reminds me of the Boeing 747 that was modified to carry the space shuttle and is now the most awkward-looking vehicle of all time.
Yeah.
This has been modified to carry something specific, like dead sex workers. I don't know.
Well, hence the lack of windows, I suppose. Oh boy. Well, I think that about covers it for the week, and also we should stop talking, which is often the case.
Words should cease. Let's move on. Move on, please.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Although I'm not going to help matters because I've got the hooptiest, and I've got to pick this thing because come on. I mean, I think somebody referenced it in the comments on this post, but the Dodge extended vans of this era were very clearly regular vans with another half of a regular van tacked on. I mean, you could very easily see where the seam was. You could see the little side marker light had a blanking panel on where the back used to be, and then it all got moved backwards. So the general idea of making a longer van out of a regular van is not unprecedented, but this is what happens when you say, hey, man, I could do that myself.
Yeah. I love that instead of using the wheel wells on the added on patch and getting a custom drive shaft, they were just like, nope.
Wheels good where they are.
Yeah.
Where Chevrolet and God intended.
That's right. Man, so that brings us to the Lemons build. There's a couple really good ones here. Obviously, Comet, not had one of those. Vigor, haven't had one of those.
Yeah.
Those are both solid options. The Sportage 2-door convertible, also a good one.
Yeah.
I would, as we pointed out, love to see the Thunderbird or Mark pulling the Jaguar, but I gotta say, the end of all of the American orphan brands has produced some fantastically interesting stuff. And the Hudson V8, whatever this thing is with all of the trim on it, tack on another 15 or 20 trim pieces from other Hudsons or Studebakers or whatever. Just bring this thing.
It does make you wonder, like, if this was an end of life cycle for Hudson model, maybe the reason why it has so much stuff is they just wanted to get rid of it. It's like, here's a box of stuff from the 52 Hornet. Put it on.
That's extremely valid. Yeah. Man. I think these had Studebaker V8s in them, but I'm not sure about that. In any case, it is a weird orphan brand.
Yeah.
You will find, again, 2 people in the world, maybe, who know about these cars, and they don't have the internet. So
no, they don't.
You're kind of on your own with it, which makes it a leader for the index of affluency if you show up with this thing.
No question about it. Well, that'll do it for this week in Lemons Car Spotting. Keep tagging your photos on Instagram. Keep the great stuff coming. We will find it. We will talk about it and probably talk about it incorrectly. But that's why we're here. Thanks for watching.
That's right.
Oh, how many V's can you count? I mean, it's like one of those kids' book challenges.
Yeah. There's
6, 7. I see 7 right off the bat, which is probably half of what the total is.
And there's at least 10 more inside.
Oh, sure.